Hello everyone, in this video I want to tell about my experience of working remotely as an orthodontist. My name is Mikhail, I'm 37, I was born and raised in Russia. I retired from my dental office about 7 years ago, and since then I travel full-time and working as a remote orthodontist. For example, here I'm waiting for my laundry service while sitting on some swings in the west part of the US. Here I'm traveling New Zealand on a camper van and also working remotely. Here I'm on some transatlantic flight, also doing some virtual treatment plans. I even worked from 3 weeks Antarctic expedition. I bought a few internet vouchers and worked from the ship. This is my workplace in Costa Rica. This is some random ferry in Asia. This is somewhere in Europe. Like I'm on my way to Geneva and still working even while hitting the road. And here I'm in zero gravity and also can work even from there by discussing treatment plans with my clients. So my philosophy is that I work to live, not to live to work. The world is very big, the life is very interesting, in my opinion, and I think that work should fit into your life. And I'm going to share my experience to tell you how I combine dentistry, orthodontics with my nomad lifestyle. But there are no miracles, no wonders. Everything starts with experience building stage. You cannot skip this step. You have to build your expertise. You have to gain some experience, not some, but a lot of experience. That's why I think this stage is mandatory. I had 8 years of clinical practice. This is the dental office where I used to work for 8 years in a row with not many holidays and days off, usually at least 8 shifts a week. But our clinic, it used to function as a McDonald's. In terms of, let me give you an example, like a patient comes to a clinic and he's not attached to some of the orthodontist. He just comes there to some, meta doctor, to an orthodontist, but he is being managed by the one employee who is free at the moment. And this concept was created by my father more than 25 years ago. And actually he gave me this idea of working remotely, of outsourcing many things to your team, because what does he do? He does consultations, he creates treatment plans for the patients, but he doesn't manage them in person. But at the same time, he tracks every patient by looking at them, like here, by giving his comments to the team. Like here, there's a patient, my father looks at his teeth and says to his assistant what to do, what is our plan, and then he leaves and the assistant does the manual part of the job. So even being present at the clinic, he still outsources the manual workflow of his job. Like here, he gives his recommendations to the team, to the employees, to the assistants, doctors, and they fulfill his plans. Or sometimes he do the most responsible manual part. It's about 10% of the whole manual workflow. That's why I decided to develop this idea to a complete remote workflow. I recorded this video about 10 years ago, and during one day, we could take about 100 patients, normally from 85 to 95 patients in 2 shifts. This is how our work schedule used to look. The patients, they come to one doctor and they don't actually know who will be taking them, who will be changing the wires or bonding brackets, doing some activations of appliances and stuff. So I think that it's extremely important to gain some confidence in your skills by working hard for many years. And this knowledge, this experience is going to be your base, your concrete ground you'll be standing on. Continuous learning is also an important part of our careers in general. Even after my retirement from the clinical routine, I still visit many congresses and educational events. For example, here I am in Rio at the International Orthodontic Congress, which takes part once in 4 years. This is AOR, the American Orthodontic Association meeting in 2025 in Philadelphia. This is EIS meeting in Valencia in 2024, European Aligner Society. TPAO, one of the biggest European aligner events. This is somewhere in Asia at the Graphy booth with Kenji. And every event gives you some knowledge you can use or some idea which can evolve into something unexpectedly cool. Networking is also important, meeting other people, gaining new contacts, new encounters. And in dentistry and orthodontics in particular, we have new technologies every year, new technological revolutions, new resins, new materials, new philosophies, new approaches. new software. That's why our industry is constantly evolving. That's why it's very important for you and for all of us to meet in person at some events, congresses, to share our knowledge, to listen to others people's experiences in order to get better and provide our patients the best treatment approaches.
Here I want to remind you that I have a big video course dedicated to digital orthodontics and aligner design. It includes 91 lessons covering all the topics: biomechanics, software, laboratory, bracket transfer trays, but we mainly focus on the aligners design. Here you can see a list of the videos included in the course by June 2026. If you want more freedom, if you want to work remotely, I highly recommend you to participate in my course. This knowledge will raise your skill in aligners design to the completely new level. You can find all the information down below in the video description. Learn how to be a digital orthodontist and combine your work with travels.
It's also very important to make your own mistakes. For example, these screenshots I took from my lecture about IPR. Learning on some others' mistakes is cool, but it will not replace the process of learning, making your own mistakes. That's why it's very important to take photos, to take all the records, to analyze them, and learn on the mistakes. For instance, the fact that I used to be that reckless in terms of IPR in the beginning of my career. Now, this made me to understand what can go wrong in my clients' cases. Now I am 10 times more cautious, more accurate planning IPR in my cases. And you can see this in my videos. We always start with gaining some space in dental arch without any IPR. We have to create ideal conditions, and only at the very final aligners we do interproximal reduction. So make your mistakes, learn something, and avoid them in the future. Another important thing is finding your unique signature, your unique feature. I think that's good when you're a versatile specialist, when you're a jack of all trades and you know how many things work. But still, I believe that it's very important to invest your time into some specific thing which you like the most. For me, it was everything related to aligners, scanning, treatment planning, printing, managing my patients, and constantly improving in this field. So I even brought my 3D scanner to my house. This is 2013. So even coming back from work, from my dental office, I used to sit in front of my computer in the third shift, scanning plaster models, designing the treatment plans, and trying to find some information online how I can improve my setups. This is my first intraoral scanner. This is 3Shape Trio's second version, I think. It's also 2013. I was very enthusiastic about aligners, and I still am. That's why I think that it's very important to find something which you like the most and invest hundreds of hours becoming the best at that thing. For example, I met this guy on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. He was a famous Russian dentist working in Moscow. Now he lives in Los Angeles, and he makes these black grills, black retainers. Yes, this is kind of awkward for most of the people, but there are many famous rap artists, influencers, and public people who orders these trays from him. And I bet all of you have similar examples. When people, they find a unique feature, they becoming the best at it, and then it grows into a profitable business. Another advice from me is that you should not rush to outsource technical part and routine work. You should be able to perform every stage yourself, doing it even better than any technician. I used to take impressions by myself to cast plaster models, then I scanned them, printed, trimmed, packed, and also did all the clinical routine, from attachments to fixed retainers. I know that many doctors, they want to outsource the technical part, saying like, oh, our time is more expensive, we don't need to know how to do this laboratory routine. But I think that it is important. You have to know how everything works. If you have technicians, ask them to teach you how to do the laboratory part. And in this video course, we're also learning the basics. The first chapter of the course is dedicated to preparation of the virtual models, segmentation, superimposition of CBCT, preparing perfect models bases, and such. And we also have a dedicated laboratory module where we learn how to trim aligners, how to print them, how to make precision cuts, how to create artificial teeth, how to close some gaps, some spaces between the teeth. And I believe that every dental specialist, every doctor who works in digital field has to know all these technical features, all these technical steps. And I think it's very important to create your portfolio of finished cases. Otherwise, how you can say that your approach works or doesn't work? You need to track your patient's treatment progress. And the most simple way is just taking photos every patient's appointment. That's what I used to do during all my career in the clinic. If you have an intraoral scanner, do scans. Every appointment, every few appointments, doesn't matter. It's never too much of a data of your records. You learn looking at your photos before, after treatment progress. You can see what worked the best, what didn't work at all. You can use these photos, these records for your social networks, for your CV to get a better job. You can create some educational content. That's why, as I said, I think it's extremely important. So don't be lazy. Take photos of your patients every single appointment when they are in your dental chair. And now it's the time to talk about photo database. Because in my opinion, digital dentistry starts here. Going digital is not making aligner design or bracket templates. Going digital is working with information. You have to be able to quickly find the necessary records. And to give you an example, I remotely connected to our clinic's server. It's all in Cyrillic, but I will explain you how it works. We don't store photos in separate folders. Instead of that, there are the folders with the letters. For example, all our patients whose surname starts with K, all their photos, all their records, they are being kept in the same folder K. Now we have more than 45,000 photos of the patients whose last name starts with K, and all of those photos, they are in the same folder. My idea is that you don't waste time opening multiple folders. Instead of this, you have all the photos in front of you. Let's open some random photo. So this is the initial occlusal upper jaw photo. This is the treatment progress. We extracted the premolars. We're closing the spaces. Another treatment progress photo. One more. Another more. Closing the space. Still closing the space with a stainless steel archwire and coil spring. Another treatment progress photo. Now it's much better. Almost closed. Still some space persists. And the final photo with fixed retainers. Debonded retainer, some relapse on the frontal incisor. Now the relapse is fixed. The retainer is repaired. Another photo, dynamic observation, more of dynamic observations. And here the same logic applies to the lower jaw, beginning, treatment progress, and stuff. You can quickly find the photos you need. And all of your team has the access to this gallery. So I think it's very important to make your photo gallery as convenient as possible so that you don't waste time finding photos and your records. You have a quick access to it. This is what I call a digital workflow, actually. And the second type of the galleries we have are the monthly galleries. For example, this is a folder of April 2026. Every patient who comes to the clinic in April 2026 is being photographed. His photos are being put into this specified folder, and everyone from our orthodontic team can open it and see how the treatment is going. Every week, we have a meeting when all the doctors get together, sitting in front of the computer, looking at the patient's progress. And even if you haven't had touched this patient for many months, you still know what progress does he have, because you're constantly looking at his photos. Like this photo was taken in April 24th of April 2026, and all the previous photos of this patient, as I mentioned, they're also being copied into this folder. So you can open the initial photo of this patient from every angle. This is how it was. Second series of photo, third series of photo, MARPA appliance plus brackets. MARPA appliance is removed, and this is the last photo. No, this is the last one. We also keep the screenshots of the setups, but we will talk about this later in this lecture, about the importance of diagnostic setups. People keep coming to you during the treatment, in the retention stage, so please take photos every single visit. It's not important that your photos look good or not. You can use a very simple camera, cheap Chinese flash, some very simple retractors and mirrors. It takes us about 40 seconds to take a series of intraoral photos. So again, don't be lazy, take records of your patients, store them properly, create a quick access, make your photo database convenient. And we're going back to the lecture.